recorded.
So today's concept is functions. Okay, before that, let me open a skill developer. Yeah, so these functions concept is basically, so these are the built-in functions that we would say, which are there in SQL. So what are the built-in functions that we have, and how are we going to use the built-in functions for our requirements? Okay, so these built-in functions which are already designed for a certain scenarios. Okay, so for what kind of scenarios, what kind of functions have been defined, and how the functions have been categorized, all these details that we are going to learn in this class today. Okay, now, so these functions are basically, they are divided into three parts: row level functions, group level functions, and analytical functions. Okay, so row level function meaning when we have a data in a table, when we put select star from table, okay, we are going to get all the records, right? So whatever the function that we are going to apply, and that function will be applicable for each and every row of a table, that we will call it as a row level function. Okay, so whatever the function that is being applicable for each and every row of a table, that is a row level function. Group level function meaning, so whatever the data that we have in the table, and the groups will be formed on top of the group if at all we wanted to execute any function. For example, max of salary of a table. Okay, so the entire table set will be formed as a group. On top of it, the maximum value will be coming out as a result. Okay, maximum salary at the department level. So for every department, we have to form a group. On top of it, we have to find the maximum salary. Okay, and there are few analytical functions. So these analytical functions actually, those will be applicable for a row, but actually by forming a group. By forming a group, but for each and every row, we are going to use that function. So like rank, dense rank, like so give the ranking at the department level, or give the ranking at the table level. So the entire table set is going to form as a group, and then it is going to start giving the rankings 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you wanted at the department level, so then for each and every department is going to be formed as a group, and in that department, then the ranks are going to be get generated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. It is going to be get generated. Okay, so these are the three types of functions that we have it in. We have it in SQL: row level function, group level function, and analytical functions. Okay, now, so the row level functions, what are the row level functions? So these row level functions are again categorized into 5 types: numeric functions, string functions, date functions, conversion functions, and miscellaneous functions. So numeric functions is meaning, the meaning of numeric function is, so whenever we apply any function on top of a column with number data type, whenever we apply a function on top of a column with number data type, that we will call it as numeric functions. String function meaning the function which is being applied on top of varchar column, string columns, right? So whenever we define a data type for a particular column called varchar2, so on top of that column, if we are going to apply any kind of a function, that functions that we will call it as a string function. Similarly, date functions. So date functions also, it's the same. Like whenever we apply a function which is defined the data type on top of a column. Okay, so these conversion functions and miscellaneous functions, there are few functions. So those basically that we are going to use it for different conversions. So that we'll call it as conversion and miscellaneous. Miscellaneous functions are basically, so it's kind of a combination functions. Okay, now each and every type of functions that we'll see it in practical now. Okay, so numeric functions. So these numeric functions are basically, so they're going to accept the numeric value as an input, and it is going to return numeric value as an output. Okay, and these numeric functions will be used on top of a column with number data type. Okay, and one more thing before I start with the practical thing. See, when we are going to real time, when we wanted to achieve certain scenario, like when we wanted to see certain result of a function, so we should not directly apply that function on top of a select statement of a table, select statement of a main table. We need to have, we need to use dual table. So dual is a dummy table which is there in the database, and this will not be having any structure. This dual table will not be having any structure. This dual table is not going to store any data. Okay, so this dual table will be used only for testing of any function, not only numeric functions, any function that we wanted to test it, then we are going to use this dual table. Okay, so dual table is very important. So whenever we wanted to apply any function, or whenever we wanted to test any function, is this function is giving valid results or proper results or not? So we are going to verify by using this dual table, because that when we directly apply on top of a column in the data table, the table will be having hundreds of records, and each and every record, the function will be applied for each and every record, because these are all the row level functions. For each and every row, the functions will be applied. So if at all the table is having huge in volume, so in that case, like it will be difficult to get the result for every execution, because when we are testing something, so for in the first execution itself, we are not going to get the proper result, right? So we need to do something. We have to wait, check for the result, and if the result is not coming properly, again we will have to update something on the function. Then we will have to test it again. We will have to test it again. So because of that, we should use the dual table, which is a dummy table and which does not have any structure. Okay, like when we put select star from dual, dummy x. So there'll be, this is one column with x value will be coming up, because there is nothing here in this table. Okay, and it does not have any structure. It should not feel like, so dummy is showing it as only one column and this dual table will be having only one column. No, it's not like that. It will dynamically create a number of columns when we are practicing it. Okay, any question here in the dual table?
No.
So is these letters are visible?
Yes, Anna, they are visible.
Could you please make it
Maybe if
little
you
bit?
can zoom a little more, that really helps.
Fine.
Yes, Anna, perfect.
It's much better, sir.
Yeah, this is the matrix. Fine. So now let me start with every function. Okay, the first function that we are going to test, sorry, that we are going to learn is the mod function. Okay, so this mod function is going to give us the reminder value. Okay, so this mod function is going to always give us the reminder value. What is the syntax of mod function? Mod of what is the value that we wanted to, and what is the divisor to divide this value, and the remainder we will be getting is an output. Okay, so this is the only purpose of the mod function. So always mod function is going to give the remainder mod 10 comma 3. So then what is the reminder? Guys, what is the reminder?
1, 1.
1. Okay. So like this, we are going to get reminders. Let's say 109 divided by 3. Okay. 1. 109 divided by 2. Three. Oh, come on. For everything one only go. Okay. 10 divided by 4. The remainder is 2. Okay. Like this, we can test the different options. So what is the value that we wanted to divide and what is the divisor value? The divisor value, and the remainder we'll be getting as an output. Okay. So in first we will have to test with this function with the dual table, and once we see that yes, this is the expected result, then we have to apply the same function in the main table select statement. Next is NVL function. Okay, so this NVL function, so whenever we have any null values, so we wanted to substitute with another value while displaying it. It's not updating it while displaying the data. So then we will have to use NVL function. So NVL function is going to substitute null value with the replacement value while displaying the data in a select statement. Okay, so let's say I have an employee table. So here, so for every function we cannot test with dual table. Okay, there are certain columns that we will have to test with actual data. There are certain functions that we will have to test with dual first and apply on the data table. But even if we are going to apply directly on the table also, there is no harm in it because we are just doing it in a select statement only. So it is not going to affect any data in the database. Okay, so I have my records here. Let me insert one more row. I'm just passing null. Okay, because so I wanted to test NVL function. Select start from. So here we have null value. So whenever we have null value, when we are displaying it, I don't want to display any null value here. I wanted to substitute with some x value. In that case, what I should do? Now instead of displaying address here, what I wanted to display NVL of. So this NVL function is always look for is there if at all there is any null value, it is going to substitute with this value. So here I am going to mention no address here. Okay, I'm going to mention no address here. So whenever we are applying any function, we should give an alias name to the column name. We should give alias name to the column name. Okay, so this alias name is going to represent the result of this column. Alias name of a column, this value is going to represent the result of this column. Okay, so this can be anything. So there is no hard rule that we should give exact column name. There is no hard rule like that. This value we can give anything. Okay, this value we can give anything. Now let me execute. See, I have no address here because in the NVL function I am giving this. So wherever there is a null value, just replace this with no address.
It will applicable for numerical also,
No,
Oscar?
no, it is not numerical. There is only one function which is there. Yeah, it is applicable for numeric functions also. Let's say we have a salary. Okay, salary is null, and it will be applicable for null for a salary also. Any value, the NVA function is going to apply for string values or numeric values. For any value, it will. Let's say I'll update am set salary equal to okay. Now when I put select star from, see here I have null value. So now when I'm getting, since I'm getting null value, NVL of salary, let's say I wanted to display it as 0 because okay, I want to display 0 because I don't want to show any null value here. Okay, 0 is coming. Okay, so this NVL will be applicable for all, any type. But so we have to give the valid data type here. Okay, so the display value, we have to give a valid data type. Let's say if the numeric value, then here also the value should be numeric. If it is a string value, the value should be string here. And if it is a date value, the value should be date value here.
Okay, Pascal, got it.
So, Bhaskar, so if here I am replaced with 0. So suppose I have replaced with salary, 1. So it will display 1.
Whatever the value that we are going to give, it will display.
Oh, okay.
So this is replacement value. Okay. So whenever we see null value in this particular column, so we are giving an instruction to the select statement to display this particular value.
Okay, got it.
So the next is round function. So round function is basically, so that usually we know, right? So in our classes itself, we learned how the round function is going. So what is the rounding value? Like how are we going to round it? Similarly, we are going to do rounding in SQL also. Okay, when we are rounding in SQL, there are certain things that we will have to follow. Are certain things that we will have to see. So that I'll show it here. Okay, so round off here, there are certain examples here. Round off 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5. And for this is the value. The actual syntax is value, precision. How much precision that we wanted to keep it. Okay, value, precision. How much precision that we will have to keep it. That means how many decimal values that we wanted. So in the value, whatever we have, so how many decimal points that we wanted, that we will call it as a precision. So here, if you don't give any precision, it is going to display till this actual value only. So there is no decimal points. It's not going to display any decimal points. If at all we give decimal value as 2, so then first 2 letters after the decimal point, it will look for 2 letters, and then immediate after that, if at all there is any 5 or above 5, then it will add +1 to the previous value. Okay, so in this case it will be coming as 2, 3, and in this case it will be coming as 2, 4, because after 3 there is a value as 5. So 5 are more than 5. Okay, 5 are more than 5. The data will be displayed here. Sorry, data +1 will be added to the previous value. One, two, three. So here, since I did not give any precision here, it is displayed only the value which is before the decimal point. Okay, and here after 2 decimal, I wanted two decimal values. So after 2 decimal values, if the value is 5 or more than 5, then it will add +1 to the previous value. Since the value is only 4, then it is not added here. But if you see here, so after the 2 decimal values, the next value is 5. Because of that, +1 is added to the previous value. So 1, 2, 3 dot to 4. So this is how round function is going to work.
Bhaskar, sorry, I'm not getting this point. Can you repeat it again for this round concept?
Yeah. See, round function is basically whenever we have any decimal values in a record. Okay, in our tables we'll be having columns, and columns will be having any numeric column is having some decimal values. Okay, decimal value meaning the value after the decimal point. The value after the decimal point. If at all we have in real time, if you can see there are 5 decimals, 10 decimals, 15 decimals will be coming up. Okay, but the target output from source we are getting 5 decimals or 10 decimals or 20 decimals. Okay, but the target we wanted to load only 2 decimal values.
Okay.
Okay, or 2 decimal values or 3 decimal values or 4 decimal values. From a big decimal value, I just wanted only 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 as per the requirement. Okay, now how like when I'm going to get a 3 decimal value, what is the different behavior for the decimal values? Let's say in this example, if you say 123.2345 is my actual value. So in this, I am giving an instruction to the round function that I wanted 2 decimal points. Okay, when I wanted 2 decimal points, ideally what I should supposed to get? 123.23 I should supposed to get.
Okay.
Okay, ideally what I should supposed to get? 2 decimal values meaning .23 I should get. Okay, but since it is a round function, it is not simply I just wanted two decimal values, so that I will just I'll just display only first 2 decimal values. It's not going to display like that. It is going to check immediate after 2 is there any, what is the value, and if the value is 5 or more than 5, then it will add +1 to the previous value. What's the previous value? 3. See, if you take these 2 examples here, I'll just put it. Okay, what is the difference between these 2 values?
We have 20, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 2, 3, 5, 4. We have after 3, we have 5.
Okay, so here I wanted 2 decimal values. Here also I wanted 2 decimal values. 2 decimal values, what's the value of 2 decimal value? This much portion. Here also, what is the value of 2 decimal value? This much portion. Right?
Yes.
Now, since I wanted 2 decimal values, the first step is it will identify what are the 2 decimal values. What are those 2 decimal values? It is identified this 2, 3. And then it will not simply display the 2, 3. It will look for what is the next value. What's the next value here?
5.
5. And if the value of the next value is 5 or more than 5, means 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, then it will add +1 to the previous value. What's the
Okay.
previous value of 5?
4.
Previous value of 5 is, here is 3.
3. It will add +1. Then
Yes,
it is
here we
24.
have 12854. 12854. Now, so after 2 decimal values, what's the value that I have? 5.
5.
5 or more than 5, then it is
It
going to
will
add +1 to
1.
the previous value. What is the previous value here? 8.
8.
8
Yes.
plus 1, 9.
9. 29 it will add. 1, 2,
Then it is
3
going
dot
to display.
29.
Let's say here. Here, if you see 123.29. Why 29 is coming up even though we have 28? Because after 8, the immediate next value is 5. So if 5 or more than 5, it will add +1 to the previous value. So because of that, 123.29. So in this case, if you see after 228, so 28, so the immediate next value is 4. Immediate next value is 4. So since the value is less than 5, then it's not going to do anything. It will just simply display 123.28. So this is the round function functionality.
Got it, Bhaskar. I'm clear now.
Now next, we do also have a trunc function. Okay. So here, if at all we give any negative values, so here we are just seeing only the positive values here. If at all we give any negative values, so this kind of a scenario will never come in real time, but I'm just explaining for interview purpose. Okay, so there are few mad people, they are going to ask these kind of questions. Okay, if at all we give any negative values, let's say -2, then it's going to display 100, because if it is giving -1, it is going to give until tens, so 120. Okay, if it is going to give -1, it is going to display 120 until tens. If it's going to give -2, it is going to give hundreds. 100 meaning, let's say I'm going to have 223. It's going to give 200. So until hundreds position, it's going to give. Let's say it is having 1, 2, 3 to 100. Let's say if I'm going to give 3, it's going to give thousands. Okay, so the minus is going to work like -1 meaning until tens value, -2 meaning until hundreds value, -3 meaning until thousands value, it is going to display. Okay, and we do also have a trunc function. Okay, let me copy the same thing. I'll show the difference between trunc and see. We do also have trunc function. So trunc function in numeric. Okay, what this trunc function is going to do is, so this trunc function will never look for immediate next value. How many decimals that we wanted, it will give only those many decimal values. Round function, it will look for the next value. After the decimal values, what is the next value is there? If it is 5 or more than 5, it will add +1 to the previous value. But in case of trunc function, it will not look for that. So how many decimal values? It is going to display only those many values. You see here, this result. So after 8, there is a value as 5. Because of that, it is added +1 to the previous value, that is 0.29. But here, the trunc function is not going to look for what is the immediate next value. It will just display how many decimal values that we wanted. So starting from that, how many decimal values that we displayed, only display those many decimal values. That is the difference between trunc and round. And the minus value is going to work like the same only for both round and trunc. But only the difference is how many decimal values that we wanted. So immediate after decimal value, what is the value is not going to be checked by the trunc function. It will be checked by round function. So that's the reason. So according to the requirement that we will have to look into. Okay, because sometimes when we use a round function where business says that, boss, I just wanted only 3 decimal values. At least bother about what is the 4th decimal value. Okay, in this case, so if the value is 5 or more than 5, if we are going to use a round function, it will add +1 to the previous value. Okay, so business says that I have only 1239. Sorry, 1238. Why 1239 is coming up? Because we are using a round function, the next value is a different value. Okay, so but business says that no, I don't want like that. I just wanted only the exact precision. However, I'm going to define. That means, like if I mention 2 decimals, I just wanted only 2 decimals. If I mention 3 decimals, I just wanted only 3 decimals. So in this case, we have to use trunc function. So according to the requirement, we will have to use the functions. Okay. Any questions, anyone?
No, Bhaskar. I'm clear.
Okay, so next is string functions. So these are all the round functions, and next is string functions. Okay, so these string functions are basically init cap, upper, lower, length, rpad, lpad, rtrim, ltrim, translate, replace, concat, ASCII, decode, coalesce, substring, instring. So all these are string functions. Okay, so these are all the functions that we regularly use in real time. Okay, now here, so first init cap. So this init cap function is going to display the value like however we define in the table, but it is going to display first letter will be capital letter and rest all the letters will be small letters. So init cap of, let's say I'm going to give data warehouse from here. Okay, so how many capital letters are there in this string?
3.
3 capital letters. But what I'm using init cap, that means only the first letter will be capital letter and should be will be coming as capital letter in the result, and rest of the characters will be small letter. Let's say I'm going to give first letter is small letter I'm giving here. So even though I'm going to give small letter here or capital letter, it doesn't bother about which case that we are giving here, but it is going to display first letter will be capital letter and rest all the letters will be small letters. Okay, if you see here, first letter is capital letter, rest all the letters will be small letters, because this init cap function is going to do first, it is going to make the result, but in the actual database, in the actual table, it will be remains however we insert it. Okay, but when we are extracting the data, it is going to display like this. Similarly, okay, I have an employee name. Okay, so this employee name, I'm going to use init cap of employee name. So as I mentioned, whenever we use any function for a specific column, we have to give an alias name to that. Okay, see, every name became a small. First letter is capital, rest all the letters will be small letters. Okay, what is the actual employee name? You can do a comparison. See, actual employee name is Somu is all small letters. Everything is small letters only. But here, everything is small letters. So similarly, we have upper function. So this upper function is going to make everything in the uppercase. Upper of employee name is going to make everything in uppercase. Okay, and here I'll show lower function. Okay, lower function is going to make everything in lowercase. Okay, and we have length function. Length function is going to give how many number of characters are there in the particular value. So in the employee name, how many characters that is having? So 4, 7, 6, because SOMU 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Next is init cap lower padding.
Are we using this in real-time environment? Because
Yes,
whatever
yes.
the data we have inside the table, that we are fetching it, right? Or we
Then
are
we will fetch
extracting
it, but there will be certain situations where the data from the source might be wrong, because because why it will be wrong, meaning the cases will be the data will be coming from the front end application. Okay, so how in from the value, when the value is coming from the front end application, there will be different people will be entering the data. So when the different people are entering the data, so there is no, they are not going to follow a common rule that everyone should follow, put all small letters, all capital letters, okay, all different cases that they are going to keep it. But in the target that we will expect that everything should be in uppercase or everything should be in lowercase or init cap, like, so that we are going to maintain the common case across all the values. Okay, it's not like for every column that we are going to do, but there are certain situations where we will have to populate only in the uppercase. Okay, because if the case is mandatory when we are going to use these values in a where condition. Okay, even if we are not going to use it in the select statement, we might need to use it in the where condition. Okay, even that will also I'll show. Show that also. Okay.
So while we are uploading into a target location, it should be in this particular format.
Yes, it should be in a particular format. Or let's say I have name called SAI, Sai. Some of them are in small letters, some of them in capital letters. So this kind of situation will come, right?
Yes, we might get.
So here the last letter, it is having US capital letter. There are these are the quite possible values. Okay, but by seeing that it is SOM is correct, by seeing that SAI is correct only. Okay, but when I put a where condition, I'm going to put where employee name equal to Sai. I'm not going to get anything, but I have value in my table. So what I should do, I have to give exact value here. Yes. Then I'm going to get the result. Even though I have the record in the table, since it is not in the proper case, we are not getting it. But in real time, how are we going to identify for how many records that you are going to identify? What is the value or what is the exact value of or exact case of this particular value? It will be too difficult for us to identify, right? So
Yes.
that's why we have to use either lower or upper function here and make all the values in lowercase. So that lower of employee name, which is going to make all the values in lowercase, and this is going to match up with this. Now when I'm going to execute, I'm getting the result. But it's not going to apply in the in the database. But for the select purpose, it will be useful. Let's say I'm going to make it in the uppercase. Still I'm going to get the value because I made it in the uppercase. Okay, so let's say there is some flag columns, active flag YN. Okay, so sometimes they are going to enter as Y in small letters, sometimes they are going to enter as Y in the capital letters. Okay, but how are we going to get the values? So for which record it is having capital letter Y, for which record capital letter, sorry, small letter Y, how are you going to identify? So it will be difficult. So in that, if at all data is there, something like that, we need to use these functions in the where class. So always there is no hard rule that these kind of functions that we should use it in select statement only. No, it's not like that. We can use any function in any place, like in where class, select statement, subqueries, views, wherever we wanted that we can use it. But we should know the functionality. Okay, but when we are going to use with the where conditions, then we should be very much careful about the data. We need to first make sure so it is having any case differences. If at all we see any case differences, we need to use these functions so that we can avoid the data loss.
Okay, Bhaskar, got it.
So the next is RPAD. So this LPAD and RPAD, very rare. In my experience, I never used it. But just for the sake of interview, that we will have to learn these things. Okay, this LPAD and RPAD functions. So these LPAD and RPAD functions, which are going to be used. Okay, so which are going to be used to pad the certain characters. Okay, that means there will be a certain situation where I wanted every column length should be 10 characters. I wanted every value in a particular column should have 10 characters. But if you see here, I have 4, 7, 6, 3, 5 like that I have. But the result of this should be 10 characters for every column, for every value in the particular employee name role. Okay. So in this case, what we should do, we need to add some additional characters left side or right side to make the length of this particular value is 10 characters. Okay. For that, we are going to use lpad or rpad functions. Okay. Before rpad function is going to be used to pad at the right side, and lpad function is going to pad at the left side. Let's say how many characters I wanted. Output as 10 characters, and the remaining characters, let's say I have 4 here, and the rest of the 6 characters with which values that I have to pad. Let's say I wanted to pad with star. Here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stars I have. Here I have 3 stars because I have 7 characters. Here I have 4 stars because I have 6 characters here. Okay, so here if I put lpad, the stars will be added to the left side. So the missing number of values will be added as a stars in the left side, and then actual values are going to start. Let's say I'm going to give multiple values: star percentage, star percentage, star percentage, star percentage here, star percentage, star here, because it is having only 3 characters. So it will repeat. Okay, I'm going to give star ash also. Star ash, star percentile ash, star percentile ash. So it will be padding like this. So either left side or right side, we can pad it. But this kind of scenario will never come in the real time. But in interviews, people will be asking this question.
So Bhaskar, suppose now we have Somu as a 4-digit number, right? Suppose if we have 10 digits like Somu Kumaresan like that, now it will have more than 11 characters or something. So in this case, what we can do?
It will truncate. Let's say I'm going to give 5 characters now. Okay, here I have 7 characters, here I have 6 characters. Here I have 5 characters. See, it is going to display only 5 characters. It is going to trunk the values. It's going to cut these values. See, at the end, the result of, see, when we use lpad or rpad function, so we are clearly giving an instruction to the select statement that I wanted only these many characters. And if at all any value is less than that, then append with these values.
Okay, Bhaskar.
Okay, here if you see, so BHASK is there. Since I wanted only 5 characters, BHASK only 5 characters came. So in Gini also CHINNI is there, I is trimmed because I'm giving an instruction that I wanted only 5 characters. And here in say, so I have only 3 characters. Because of that, next 2 characters are padded. Star ash is, star percentile is padded. So in Manoj, if you see, I have only 5 characters, and here also I wanted 5 characters. So it displayed actually. See, it is going to applicable for both lpad and rpad.
Okay, Bhaskar, I got it.
Okay. So next is trim function. This trim function basically, yeah, this we will use it in real time. Okay, so this trim function is going to remove the unwanted spaces, trim off the spaces from the left side or the right side. Okay. Now let's say let me have some 1, 2 spaces I'm keeping in the right side. Here 1, 2, 3 spaces I'm keeping here. Here I have 1, 2, I'm keeping spaces at the both ends. Okay, I have added. So here also I have spaces on the left side. Here I have spaces on the right side. Okay, I have added some spaces here. Okay, because Okay, here I have some spaces here. So in real time, there are possibilities that we will be getting the data with some spaces. Okay, so when we are getting any spaces, how do we trim out the spaces? So we can use the LTrim function to remove the spaces on the left side. So it is going to just remove the spaces on the left side only. This is the actual name. This is the trimmed value. See here, right side spaces, it is not trimmed. It is trimmed only the left side spaces. So whenever we have any spaces which are coming on the left side, then we are going to use this LTrim function to remove the left hand side spaces. Similarly, we have rtrim function, which is going to remove the spaces on the right side. Here I don't have any spaces. Here also I don't have any spaces because it is going to trim the spaces on the right side. So rtrim is to trim the spaces on the right side, LTrim is to trim the spaces on the left side. And if at all we wanted to trim both spaces, LTrim off, rtrim off. It is going to trim the spaces both the sides. This is one way of doing, trim the spaces on the both sides by using LTrim off, rtrim off, or there is another way, just use the trim function. This trim function also is going to trim the spaces both the sides. But in Informatica, when you are practicing, in real time in Informatica, we don't have this trim function. Only LTrim rtrim functions. In SQL, we can use the trim function to remove the spaces on both the sides, but to remove the spaces on both sides in ISES, we don't have trim function. We just need to use the combination of LTrim and rtrim functions. Okay. So the next function is replace or translate function. Okay, the only difference is translate and replace. So both are going to be used to replace the values, replace the set of characters. But the translate function is going to replace character by character. Replace function is going to replace string by string. I'll show both the examples here. Okay, so here I'm using replace function here. So in the replace function, what I'm giving an example. Sorry, what I wanted to replace is, so wherever I identify in this particular string, I wanted to replace it with xy. I wanted to replace it with xy. So here also the same scenario, but the difference is the replace function is going to take this entire whole string. So in the entire string, if it is having in, it is going to replace with xy. But in the translate function, I will be replaced with x, n will be replaced with y. So character by character, it is going to replace using translate function. String by string, it is going to replace with replace function. If you see here, the xy dia, because it considers the entire whole string. So wherever it is having entire whole string, there only it is replaced with xy. But here in the translate function, if you see, wherever I is there and I is replaced with x, and we have n, it is replaced with y. Here if you see, it is y. Okay, so this is the difference between replace and translate function.
Now, can you explain me once again?
Yes, so replace function is going to replace string by string. See, I have a value called India. So in the entire string, so wherever I have in, I wanted to replace it with xy. This is my requirement. I have a requirement like this. Okay, so wherever I have in, I wanted to replace it with xy in my result, not in the database. in my result. So this replace function, what it is going to do, it is going to replace. First, it will identify this is the string. In this string, I am giving an instruction that wherever I have in, just replace it with xy. In is there in how many places here?
Only one.
Only one place where we have in here. So in the result, if you see xy dia, because in is replaced with xy. Okay, but here if you see, so character by character it is going to replace. I will be replaced with x, n will be replaced with y. So in India, how many i's are there?
2.
Yeah. So these two values are replaced with x,
X.
because there are two places where I have and n. Okay. So n, how many places that I have?
1.
So only one place where it is replaced with y. Let's say
Mm.
I'm going to keep one more n here. Since it is in the uppercase, it is not replaced. If I give it in the lowercase, it will replace. Okay. It is replaced with one more y. Why it is replaced? Character by character it is replaced. But here if you say only if it is in, then only it will be xy. Even let me give n here also. So here DIAN is there because it is not replaced character by character. It is replaced string by string with the replace function. But with the translate function, it is going to replace with character by character.
Bhaskar, what about the numerical numbers? Suppose if we have a
No,
confidential number.
no. Numerics, we don't have these replace functions.
Okay. So sometimes we have a confidential numbers, right? We will give if we have a mobile number, we will give only the 5 numbers. After the last digit, we will give as a star symbol, right? For that, it won't work.
Why it will? No, the data type of the column is if it is a string value for mobile number, then it is going to take it. See, that is completely depends upon the column data type. Okay, what is the data type of the column? If it is a number data type, then it is not going to, the star itself, it is not going to accept when you are inserting it.
Okay.
Okay.
Only for the strings, it will get
Yeah.
characters.
If the column data type, whatever the value it is going to be there in the in that particular column, it doesn't matter. If the column data type is defined as varchar, which is a string data type, then these functions will work. Otherwise, these functions are not going to work. Even though, like mobile number field is there, but the data type is string, but you are entering only the numeric values. Still, this will be applicable because the data type is string. It doesn't matter about the values.
Okay, Bhaskar. Yeah.
Okay, so the next function is concat function. So concat function is going to be used to concat two strings. Okay, concat function is to concat two strings. So there are two ways of doing concatenation. Okay, either we can use two pipe symbols or we can use concat. So when we use concat function, it is going to combine only two strings, or with the two pipe symbols we can concat n number of values. Let's say I'm going to show this example. So all these things that you have to practice thoroughly. So then only you'll be able to get it. Okay, here let's say I have how are you. So there are three strings here. How is one string, R is one string, U is another string. There are three strings which I am combining and displaying it into a single column. Okay, if at all I wanted to combine three strings, I have to use two pipes in between every two strings. The same thing if I wanted to okay, it's the same thing if I wanted to achieve with the concat function. One concat function is going to be used to concat only two string values. So concat of how, comma, R. So only 2 strings it is going to accept. If at all we try to give another values here, it's not going to take it. Invalid number of arguments, because so here the concat function is going to accept only 2 arguments. See how R is coming up, because with one concat function we can do that. Now we can use one more concat. Now concat of this result comma argue. Now first this concat function will execute, it will concat this how with R, and then result of this column will be concatenated with U. Okay, so this is how we are going to use concat, because this concat function that we will use it in real time. Okay, let's say we will be having first name and last name, but in the target we'll be having only name field. Now concat first name and last name to populate the name field, or we have first name, middle name and last name. So all three we have to concatenate. So when we wanted to concatenate like that, either we can use these type symbols or we can use multiple concat functions.
Suppose if you want to add one more name at the U, okay, do you want to add one more concat, or you can add
Yes.
as a
How many? See, always one concat function will be having
two?
It is going to concatenate only 2 values. Okay, you wanted to add 10 values, then 9 concats you have to use.
Okay.
How many number of values that we wanted to concatenate minus 1 concat functions we have to use. It is 8 values that we wanted to concatenate. So 8 minus 1, 7 concat functions we have to use.
Okay, Bhaskar.
Just leave about ASCII and char. Okay. Yeah, and substring and instinct functions I'll explain tomorrow. Okay, so this will take some time. And before this I wanted you guys to practice these functions, so that you'll be getting some idea about these functions. Then you'll be able to easily understand the substring and instinct functions. Any questions, anyone?
No, Bhaskar.
No, Bhaskar.
No, Bhaskar.
No, sir.
Yes. Okay. Fine. So I upload this recording. Please take it and practice it, and let me know if you have any questions.